Well, back to chapter 7. Look at verse 17 now. In Revelation 7:17, we see Jesus Christ comforting his servants. Now, these are the ones, it says, that are coming out of the tribulation. They're the ones that all this wrath has been poured out, and in the process, they succumb because the Antichrist is martyring them. That's why they're called martyrs. That's the fifth of the seals, the martyrs. That was in chapter 6. They're being killed by the Antichrist. But look what Jesus does. The Lamb who is in the midst of the throne will shepherd them, these that have been saved out of the tribulation, and lead them to living fountains of water, and God will wipe every tear from their eyes. Christ comforts his servants. Well, chapter 8 starts a whole new section. We're going to more wrath. We've seen the greatest revival in history, 9 to 14, the 144,000 special force evangelists. We see God's love, his desire for salvation. But look, the wrath, it's more wrath. And it's time for us to see what God does with all of our prayers. So look at verse 3 of chapter 8. And it says, then another angel having a golden censer stood at the altar. He was given much incense that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar, which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense with the prayers of the saints ascended before God from the angel's hand. Now, look back at chapter 5 for just a minute, in verse 8. It says, we already covered this up in the last section, but it says, now when he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, each having a harp and a golden bowl full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. Did you know what the scripture basically tell us? That right in front of the throne of God, where all the action is unfolding, right in front of God's throne. So if I was kind of drawing what's going on here, here is the pavement, here is the throne of God, and here is God, you know, in his glory seated on the throne. And right here at the edge, they're looking over, and here's the earth. And this is where all of these seals and trumpet judgments are taking place. But where they launch from, it says there's this giant bowl right here. And the bowl has all the collected prayers of every saint of all time. God has collected and heaped up prayers from every saint. That's what it says in Revelation 5:8 and 8:3. That God has these bowls in front of his throne, and what he does is he answers them, and the answers, a lot of them come down with his judgment upon sin on the earth. Wow. Did you know God answers every prayer? He answers every prayer, yes, no, or wait. Every prayer, yes, right then he responds. No. James 4 says you consume upon your lusts and you don't have because you ask and receive not because you ask amiss that you may consume it on your lusts. Or God says, wait until it's time. That's the patience of God. Let me review with you what we're looking at. See this chart? There are 7 seals. We went through these. The 7 seals, I've repeated them each to you. The 7th seal is what we see opening in chapter 8, verse 1. Look what it says in Revelation 8:1. When he opened the 7th seal. So remember, it's those nested doll kind of things. That the first seal leads to the second to the third, but the 7th opens a whole new group of trumpets and launches what it says. When he opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about a half hour, and he saw the angels standing there, and the 7 angels, verse 6, had 7 trumpets preparing to sound, and the first trumpet sounded. So let's go through these trumpets. Number 1, 1/3 of the grass is burned. That's the first trumpet. Look at verse 8. The second trumpet sounds, and the sea is struck. You see a mountain of fire pollutes and destroys and kills 1/3 of all the sea life. Then the third trumpet, the waters, that means the rivers and the lakes and all of that, in verse 10 and 11 are struck. Then the fourth trumpet in verse 12, the heavens are struck. And then, of course, when we come back next time, the fifth trumpet unleashes the worst of all. 1/3 of all humans die. But let's just stay within our section we're looking at right now. And by the way, you can see the rest. These are 3 woes: the fifth trumpet, the locust, the Euphrates angel, and the mystery of God finished. All of that is coming in the succeeding chapters.